I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on GBM, we're talking about criminal justice reform, reentry, and real life leadership with an amazing author, an amazing leader. His name is Mark L. Goldsmith. His book is called From Madison Avenue to Rikers Island, The Making of a Social Entrepreneur. From building iconic beauty brands to walking into Rikers and finding a new mission, this story shows how business skills can become a blueprint for impact. If you care about reducing recidivism, transforming lives, and the power of purpose-driven entrepreneurship, you're going to want to hear this interview and you're going to want to read this book. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him on TV today, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing book. The links are below this interview. Mark, thank you so much for joining me here today.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Pleasure to have you on the show. The title alone of your book is compelling. You don't look like a guy who has done hard time on Rikers, of course. Madison Avenue, I believe, but I understand Rikers was kind of a retirement job. Tell us how you got into that.
Well, I spent over 35 years in the cosmetic industry, and I had a great career that I thoroughly enjoyed. And then before I knew it, I was 65 years old, and it was time to retire. And I said, what do I do next? My wife said, you're very good with young people. Why don't you do something with young guys? And I said, okay. I joined a program called Principal for the Day. You volunteer to go into a school and talk to young people about their future. I'm a bit of a wise guy, so I said, send me to the toughest school in New York. Little did I know they were going to send me to Rikers Island.
Wow.
And here's a picture of me, my first day actually on Rikers Island.
Amazing.
And I walked into that classroom and I talked to these young men. For 2 hours, the correction officers came up to me and they said, what are you telling these guys? Because I didn't tell them anything. I asked them what they wanted to do the rest of their life. And for the most part, they were going to go back in the corner and sell a few more drugs. And I said, listen, you know, selling can be a profession. You get a commission instead of going to Rikers. I said, who takes care of the money? They pointed to a guy over there. I said, that's called finance. I said, who spreads the word? I said, those guys. I said, those are the advertising guys. And I placed each of them in a corporation based on their skills. After going for a while, I said to the principal, what would happen if I started a program in the city? She said, that would be great. We could send all these guys there. So because of my marketing and advertising background, I came up with the title, Getting Out and Staying Out. Then, Logan, I couldn't find an office because nobody wanted these guys in their building. Very simply, I opened up a storefront. So every step of the way, there were obstacles, but it was something that fulfilled me for over 25 years. I'll talk more later about the difference between for-profit and not-for-profit work.
Amazing, amazing. What was it about Madison Avenue and the skills you learned there that translated well into this new type of entrepreneurship, actually helping people who are caught up in the criminal justice system?
I think very strong knowledge of the product I was selling and the consumer I was selling to, very directed. I didn't get overly crazy about parts of advertising which are more notorious. I was interested in the basic message. What are we saying to a consumer? And that was the message that I wanted to deliver to these guys, that there's another life out there. You don't have to go back to what you're doing, but it's going to take some work on your part. When I started the program, there were 3 parts to it: education, employment, and my wife, who's a PhD social worker, said, you got to have PhD social workers with at least a master's degree. Because without that, if you can't get that social work done, the jobs and the education are going to fall apart. Getting that GED, which they started on Rikers, and then continue when they got out. Or there's something in New York, Logan, called up top. If you go up top, it means you've been sentenced to a prison term. But when they went up top, I corresponded with them while they were up there. So I became almost, I guess, like a father figure. Now I'm a grandfather figure. But these guys looked upon me. They came from homes that had very few fathers, lots of mothers and lots of grandmothers. And I think they saw me because I talked to them one to one. I never talked down to them. If anything, I talked up to them. But from the very beginning, I let them know they had to do their part. This is not going to be me doing it. When people ask me, why were you successful? I said, it doesn't have anything to do with me. It has to do with those guys because they weren't stupid. They were just underdeveloped. And nobody ever told them how smart they were.
Yeah. I always feel that most people are of average intelligence, whether you're a criminal or whether you're a CEO. And a lot of it has to do with your upbringing, the opportunities you've had, the role models you've had, and the path forward you've been shown. And so you've taken these guys and do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I am of basic intelligence. They supposedly had an IQ. I never really thought much about it. What is fascinating is my English teacher, Ms. Lambert, would turn over in her grave if she knew that I wrote a book. I mean, I was the most unlikely guy. I can talk my damn fool head off, but writing, not my skill. Fortunately, I had my wife to edit it all.
Exactly. Well, I had teachers who said to me, Mr. Crawford, shut up because you're not going to have a career in talking. Listen to me instead, you know.
Uh,
So my
there you
teachers
go.
got it wrong too. I think a lot of teachers get it wrong. Probably with the kids in school, they got it wrong. Let me ask you this. You've gotten a lot of attention to your program in important places where recidivism and incarceration have been discussed, from the Wall Street Journal to the White House. Talk to us a little bit about that exposure and how it helps your organization getting out and staying out.
It helped a lot, particularly the Wall Street Journal article where they talked about business executives helping young men in prison. Uh, I'm sure we'll talk later about this whole retirement issue. For me to be able to get out and talk to people about the program and then take guys with us, one of the things that you'd have to do in the not-for-profit world is to raise money. And the money is raised in a couple of different ways, from private benefactors to city and state and federal and foundations. And I create a little different rationale for the funding. I talk to them about a return on their investment, which is a frequent term used in business. What were they going to get for it? You're going to spend this money on getting out and staying out. What are you getting for it? And I would tell them exactly what they were going to get. And that increased my opportunity to get more funding for the program.
Wonderful. And also, there's the cost of wasted human lives. People shouldn't be warehoused behind bars. Obviously, some people need to be punished. Some people do terrible things. Very, very true. But if there are young people who have an opportunity to take their petty crime, put it behind them, and move forward, that's a goal that all of society should be supporting, whether you're on the left or the right or anywhere in between, right?
Logan, I wish you were on my side all the time. I said, you speak very eloquently and directly with
Thank
the
you.
facts about the situation. Those are exactly the facts of criminal justice.
Yeah. Three pillars are important. You reiterate them in your book: education, employment, and emotional well being. Talk to us about those.
Well, education, it starts with they were taking classes actually in the jail on Rikers Island, and then they also give classes and degrees in upstate prisons. And I let them know that that GED was almost as good as a high school diploma, and they had to get it. And that was just one of the things that they had to do. They had to learn how to write. And so we went over in detail what's in a good resume, and most importantly, what's in a good cover letter. And so the training of them in the educational setting to get their GEDs, to get their college degrees, and then to be able to write about themselves.
Hmm.
When it came to employment, it's very interesting. I got entrepreneurs to come in and look at the program and then give them jobs wherever possible. Obviously, when it comes to a job, I gave them very simple instructions. You're the first one in and the last one out. Number two, you stay off your cell phone. I said, and meet as many people as you could possibly meet, and just continue doing it for the rest of your life.
Hmm.
In the employment world, I got ahead strictly by getting in early and leaving late. I started with Pfizer, and I'm working my way through various cosmetic companies. I was just a hard worker.
Hmm.
I guess I was pretty smart, but I wasn't the brightest guy at all. But I used whatever I had to get the attention of the executives. When it came to the emotional end, I was very fortunate. I grew up in a family, a mother, father, brother, and I was pretty emotionally stable my whole life. I had things that went on during my life. I could tell you one funny one, which is
Sure.
not so funny. Before I left Johnstown, Pennsylvania to come to New York City, they had a party for me going away. And at that party, had a little bit too much to drink. I'm 19, about 21 years old, right out of the Navy. And I hit a cop car with my car and I got locked up for one night. My father had to come down and bail me out. It was the most uncomfortable day of my life. But I thought, what would have happened had I been of color
Hmm.
and done that in New York City? I would have been on Rikers Island.
Yeah.
I tell that story to the guys. They call me Mr. G. Mr. G, you were really there? I said, I was there for one night and I decided I never wanted to go back. Just a
Yeah.
story.
Well, that's a great story, and you're absolutely right. I mean, anything could have happened to you if your life was a little bit different. If you didn't have that dad to come down and bail you out, you might have spent a weekend in jail, and that weekend in jail could have turned into a month in jail. I mean, so like I said, it's the circumstances with which we're presented. You know, all of us are more or less the same intelligence. There are brighter people, there are less bright people, but most of us can do these jobs that we do, right? I mean, it doesn't take a brain surgeon unless you're a brain surgeon,
Yeah, I hear you.
without a doubt. Did you ever think, let me ask you two questions because people will be wondering this. Was there ever a time in your work with prisoners that you felt afraid of for your own well-being? Were you ever
Never.
scared?
Never. Absolutely not. These guys were just, some of them did go back, but I personally was never threatened whatsoever because they recognized I could help them. And
Hmm.
I was the person they never had in their life before. The correction officers came up to me and say, "We don't know why they're listening to a white guy in a suit. What are you telling them?" I didn't tell them anything. I asked them what they want to do. And then I pushed that envelope as far as I could. And I also let them know this is not a free ride. I'm not going to provide all these things for you when you get out, possibly places to live, places to go. You have to do your part. And
Hmm.
if you don't do your part, you unfortunately will not make it in the program. So that was a critical part of the entire thing. And they took on that responsibility because they saw what would happen if they did. When I had guys come back and talk to them about the fact that they had met me on Rikers Island and now they had a good job or they had a business.
Yeah.
Several of them became very successful business people.
Wonderful. That's great. That is a great legacy indeed to take people's lives that were literally in the gutter
Yep.
and help them get out and find a way out, stay out, and thrive. What's the takeaway for readers? What do you hope they get from this book?
Well, one of the main reasons, Logan, why I wrote this book is there are hundreds of thousands of people out there who have retired and don't have a clue what to do. They get on each other's nerves at home. There's only so much golf or tennis you can play. And here are all these probably millions of people retiring at age 65 who don't have a clue what they're going to do. My suggestion is look at the world of not for profit. Now, the famous economist Milton Friedman had a saying about corporate. The purpose of corporate is number one, make a profit.
Mhm.
That's your job. The purpose of a not for profit is to make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to do. And should you get into it, you will find two things happen. Number one, you will get more from the experience than the people you're helping. It is amazing. And the fact you can also use the skills you learned in your job, doesn't matter what you did, businessman, scientist, doctor, lawyer, the skills that you used in those professions can be used in the world of not-for-profit. Now, of course, somebody could look back and say, sure, he's a big talker. He started this thing that's now 30 years old, and he got a lot of publicity for it. But what am I going to do? Aha. What you're going to do is you're going to start volunteering in various areas of our society, education, jobs of any kind, and you're going to start volunteering with young people or older people for that matter. These people are coming to these organizations, and you could be the one. You don't have to go as far as I did to actually launch a not-for-profit. But that's the reason I wrote the book, because so many of my friends are out there who don't have a clue what they want to do. And so stories I hear from guys I went to school with, how do you keep busy, Goldsmith? What are you doing? Mm-hmm. And I tell them, and I say, well, how do I get into it? I said, when you come to the fork in the road, buddy, take it. Take the opportunity to try. And if it doesn't work out, try something else.
Exactly, exactly. There's a radio talk show host by the name of Michael Savage, and he says that for retirees, and he's about 80 and he's still going. He's like, how many days a week are you going to cut your grass? How many days a week are you going to wash your car?
That's it.
You know, doing nothing is overrated. You do nothing for a week, yeah, I get it. Maybe take a year off and do nothing, sure. But to absolutely have no purpose or motivation or a reason to get up in the morning doesn't make sense.
I'm 90 years old, Logan.
Wow.
I retired at 65. So that's 25 years ago. And I tell you, when I look back on it, I guess I got more satisfaction from my entrepreneurship in the not-for-profit world, creating this agency, than I did in the cosmetic business. And I had a very exciting career. Yeah. It was a fabulous career. It's not like this.
Exactly. And if you had stopped at 65 and had just puttered around the house and gone to lunch with your wife and cut the grass and washed your car, you wouldn't be as fit, you wouldn't be as sharp, and you wouldn't be the person we see here today. I guarantee you.
My wife is 88 years old. We were both at PT this morning. Mm-hmm. We get up and we exercise and we go, and I think we have a better we're married for 64 years.
Wow.
And I contribute the fact that she worked up to age 87. She ran an agency for challenged children, got them out of the hospitals and put them back with their homes. And she's the one that inspired me to do this thing. And of course, it didn't hurt being her husband, because she was well known in New York City as the person who changed really childcare. And so I think that whole idea of having a mate who's in it with you, mm-hmm. because, you know, women, I think, keep their friends longer than men do. Yeah. She has all kinds of friends she talks to on the phone and like. Unfortunately, a lot of my guys have passed.
Right.
And truthfully, I don't find many of them all that interesting. So I've limited my focus to about 4 or 5 guys. We do our cigar smoking by ourselves once a month. And but I think this whole retirement thing, and more and more people are out there, Logan, now, retiring at 65, and people are now living average age into their 70s, I guess.
Right.
As you said, how much grass can you cut?
Not enough to stay interested, that's for sure. The name of the book we've been talking about today is called Madison Avenue to Rikers Island, the making of a social entrepreneur. From building iconic beauty brands to walking into Rikers Island and finding a new mission, this story shows how business skills can become a blueprint for impact. Mark, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you, Logan. I think it's one of the very best interviews I've had, and I really want to thank you a lot.
I appreciate it, and you're one of my best guests, without a doubt. You've got so much to talk about from your advertising years. I'd love to have you back on the show. Tell a couple of stories out of school about the celebrities and the brands that you helped build. I think that'd be wonderful. To the folks
in the Big Apple, you ever get to New York?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
There you go. Call me. We'll have, as they say, we'll do lunch.
We'll do lunch, without a doubt. Sounds great. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time.